Hello, this is a test of the D50 or 85 bidirectional amp meter, and it's a pretty cool meter. It has both voltage and current measurement, and the nice things about that is that it will measure current flowing in either direction. Now I did a first test where I used a common supply for both the load and the meter, and it was very inaccurate. It was showing 1.7 amp draw when I was drawing about 1 amp, and that was using this schematic over here, the number 3. Let me put it in frame. So as you can see, I was using the same power supply to power both the load and the meter. That's why I was using this little red wire here to power the meter. Now I've taken that off and I have hooked it up into a separate 20-volt power supply, which is this battery over here, and we're using this diagram over here, number 1, where the power supply is separate from the power supply for the meter is separate from the power supply for the load. As you can see, this is the power supply for the meter. It goes just to the meter. Negative goes over here, which is also connect to negative to the power input. The load is connect to across the load terminal. It'll go from this. This is the load here. It'll go from positive to load positive of the terminal, and negative will go to the negative of the supply. And the load we have here is a 5 ohm resistor. Let me bring it into frame. It's a 5 ohm resistor, and in series is my amp meter in 10 amp range. That should give us about 1 amp draw in at 5 volt, which is going to be supplied by this power bank here. When I turn the power supply on, see, it'll show about 1 amp. The amp meter will show about 1 amp, and we'll see what that showed. Turn it on. Here we have it. It shows 950 milliamps over here, 945 milliamps over there, so they are in agreement. And also just using ohm laws, 5 volt, 5 ohm, 1 amp. Over here the meter is showing 2 amp draw. Now I also believe that there is a loose connection here somewhere, because if I jiggle this a little bit, you can see the current goes down. Now it's showing 1.5. If I jiggle, just jiggle the connector, nothing else, it changes. So I believe that there's probably a loose connection somewhere in here. It is not that the shunt is loose, because the shunt is how the current is being passed across the whole circuit, and none of these change as I jiggle. So I think the PCB may have a loose connection somewhere, and I obviously am not going to take it apart until after I clear with the seller. But here, as you can see, as I jiggle this, the board just read things all over the place, and that to me is not okay. And let's go to 1.2. It's almost close to the real value here, but as I jiggle, you can see that it changes. And it's not the wire, because the wire are screwed down tight, and obviously it's not the wire because the meters are still showing the right value. It doesn't matter how I jiggle it. So yeah, all the wires are tight. So it's not the wire. Something in the meter itself is loose. And if I bang it around, it changes a tiny bit. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.